The rope burns were still fresh on her wrist when Silas Carrian handed over $40, 20 for the mare, 20 for the girl nobody wanted. Her father's breath reeked of whiskey and shame. The crowd laughed. But when those green eyes met his across that dusty Texas market, Silas saw something that stopped his heart, a soul that had been screaming in silence for 19 years. What he didn't know was that she'd been listening to every word he'd ever thought he'd hidden. Before we continue, if you're drawn to stories of unexpected love and redemption, hit that subscribe button. Stay with me until the end. I promise this story will touch your heart. And comment below with your city, so I can see how far Emiline and Silas's story has traveled. Now, let's begin. September heat stuck to everything in Grayson Creek. Silas Carrian wiped his neck with a bandana that had seen 30 years of Texas summers, most of them better than this one. 52 years old, alone for 11. He'd come for a horse. His mare died 3 weeks back, and a ranch didn't run on prayers. Silas Carrian, you old son of a bitch. Dutch Holloway appeared red-faced, bottle in hand. Dutch? Need a horse, got an Arabian mare. 8 years sound legs. Show me. They walked toward the pens. Then Silas heard it, not a sound exactly. A hole in the noise. A pocket of silence in a market built on shouting. Near the south fence, men gathered in a circle, laughing the way men laugh when something's being hurt for fun. What's that about? Dutch glanced over. Jacob Ware, selling his daughter again. Silas stopped walking. Again. Been at it 6 months. Girl's deaf and mute. Wife died having her. Jacob blames the kid, drinks whatever money he makes, tries to sell her to get more. Cold fingers wrapped around Silas's chest. That legal? Legal enough when nobody complains. Silas started toward the crowd. Dutch called after him, but he wasn't listening anymore. The circle opened. 15 men, maybe 20. Some had sons with them, teaching them how the world worked. In the center stood Jacob Ware, hollow-eyed, swaying. Beside him, tied by rope to his wrist, stood the girl. Silas expected broken, expected tears. That's not what he got. She stood barefoot in the dust dress the color of old mud, dark blonde hair tangled with straw. But her face was calm, too calm. Green eyes scanning the crowd like she was reading a book she'd already memorized. Then those eyes found Silas. Something happened. He couldn't name it. Couldn't explain it later when Dutch asked. But for the first time since Margaret died, Silas felt like someone actually saw him. Not the quiet rancher. Not the man who lost everything. Just him. $20, Jacob shouted, words slurred together. $20, she's yours, works like a mule, eats like a bird, won't talk back 'cause she can't. Laughter rippled through the crowd. What good's a woman who can't hear you? Someone yelled. Probably better. Another voice, more laughter. Jacob yanked the rope. The girl stumbled forward, caught herself, stood still again, eyes on the ground now. She's strong, young, good for cleaning, cooking, whatever else you need. Jacob grinned, showing brown teeth. Can't complain, can't gossip, can't tell nobody your business. The laughter got louder. Silas felt something crack inside his chest, like ice breaking on a frozen river. How long you been doing this? His voice cut through the noise. The crowd went quiet. Jacob squinted at him. What's it to you, Carrian? How long? 6 months, give or take. Why you buying? Silas looked at the girl. She hadn't moved, hadn't looked up. But her spine was straight. Her chin lifted despite the rope. She wasn't defeated. She was enduring. There was a difference. $40, Silas said. Whispers exploded through the crowd. Jacob's eyes went wide. 40 for her. 20 for her. 20 for Dutch's mare. I don't have no. I know. Dutch does. I'm buying both. Dutch appeared at his elbow. Now hold on, Silas. Your mare worth 20 or not? Well, yeah, but... Done. Silas pulled out his billfold, counted $40, handed 20 to Jacob, who snatched it like a drowning man grabbing rope. 20 to Dutch. Then he turned to the girl. She was watching him now, studying his face like there were words written on it only she could read. Silas reached out slow the way he would with a spooked horse and worked the knot loose. The rope fell away. The skin underneath was raw. Fresh blood mixed with old scars. His hands shook. "You're not property," he said quiet. "Nobody is." She couldn't hear him. He knew that. But she watched his lips, watched his hands gentle on the rope. And when he freed her wrist, she touched the raw skin, then looked at him with something he couldn't name. Not gratitude. Recognition. "She's all yours, Carrian." Jacob was already stumbling toward the saloon. "No refunds." The crowd drifted away. Disappointed the show was over. Dutch stood there holding the money. "You serious? You just bought a girl. Bought her freedom. There's a difference. She can't hear, can't talk. How you gonna—" "I'll figure it out." Dutch shook his head and walked off muttering about fools. Silas looked at the girl. She looked back. "Can you walk?" She tilted her head, looked at his feet, at the road. "Smart." She nodded. "Let's go home." 7 miles west to the ranch. Silas hitched the new mare to his wagon, gestured for the girl to climb up. She moved with grace that surprised him, bare feet and all. They rode in silence. He kept glancing at her. She sat perfectly still, hands folded, eyes on the horizon. Every few minutes her head would turn sharp like she'd heard something. But she couldn't have. Could she? When they passed a grove of cottonwoods, she touched his arm. He nearly jumped out of his skin. She pointed up. A hawk circled overhead, so high he'd missed it completely. "You saw that?" She smiled, small, fleeting, and nodded. Something in Silas's chest loosened for the first time in 11 years. Sunset painted everything gold when they reached the ranch. House was simple. 2 bedrooms, kitchen with a pot-belly stove porch that sagged on one side. Barn was bigger than the house. That suited Silas fine. He helped her down from the wagon. She didn't need help, but he offered anyway. She stood there looking at everything. House, barn, empty fields stretching toward hills. "Not much," Silas said. "But it's honest." She turned to look at him, those eyes searching his face again. Then she walked toward the house. Silas followed, suddenly uncertain. What now? Was she staying, leaving? Did she want to be here? Inside the house looked exactly like he'd left it. Clean but cold. Functional but empty. 1 chair at the table. Spare bedroom hadn't been touched in 14 years. The girl walked through slow, touching things. Table, stove, doorframe. When she reached the spare bedroom, she stopped, looked back at him. "Yours if you want it," Silas said. "Or you can leave tomorrow. I didn't buy you to keep you." She walked into the room, looked around, came back out, moved past him into the kitchen, opened cupboards, coffee flour, canned beans, then turned to face him. She made a gesture with her hands. Sweeping motion. "You want to clean?" Nod. "You don't have to." But she'd already found the broom. Already sweeping with quick, efficient strokes like she'd lived there her whole life. Silas stood there helpless. "All right then, I'll see to the horses." 2 hours in the barn. Brushing down the new mare, feeding the others, checking hooves. Physical work steadied him. Always had. But his mind kept circling back. He'd acted on impulse. Something he never did. Paid $40 for a girl he couldn't talk to, couldn't understand. What was he thinking? Then he'd close his eyes and see that rope around her wrist, hear the crowd laughing, see her father's empty soul. Nobody deserved that. When he came back inside, the house looked different. Floor swept, dishes washed, stove cleaned, table wiped down. A pot simmered on the heat, filling the house with a smell he hadn't experienced in years. Home. The girl sat at the table, hands folded, waiting. Didn't have to do all this. She watched his lips, but didn't respond. He sat down across from her, exhausted suddenly. Don't even know your name. She stood, walked to the corner where he kept slate and chalk for tallies, picked up the chalk, wrote in careful letters, Emiline. Silas stared at the word. Emiline. Nod. Good name. He stood, held out his hand. Silas Carrian. She looked at his hand, took it. Her grip was firm, calloused. They shook once, formal, awkward. Welcome to the ranch, Emiline. She smiled. Second time that day. It transformed her whole face. For a moment she didn't look like someone who'd been sold in a livestock market. She looked like someone who might belong somewhere. That night Silas lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Across the hall he heard nothing. No breathing. No movement. But somehow the house didn't feel empty anymore. Morning. Coffee smell woke him. Silas stumbled out, confused. He always made his own coffee, had for 11 years, and found Emiline already dressed, hair in a simple braid, pouring 2 cups. She handed him one without looking. Thank you. Nod. They drank in silence. Should have been awkward. Wasn't. Got work today, Silas said. Fences need mending, north pasture. You can stay here, rest. She set down her cup, stood. Apparently she was coming. They worked 3 hours side by side. Emiline couldn't hear instructions, but she watched, learned fast. When he showed her how to stretch wire, she did it perfect first try. When he hammered posts, she held them steady without being asked. Strong, stronger than she looked. Around noon, Silas called for a break, sat under a cottonwood, pulled out lunch bread, cheese, dried beef, offered half. She took it, nodded thanks, sat beside him. Grasshoppers jumped in tall grass. Meadowlarks sang somewhere distant. Emiline went rigid. Head snapped east, eyes wide. What? Silas asked. What is it? She stood, pointed. He looked, saw nothing. Don't see. Then he heard it. Thunder. Distant but growing. He checked the sky. Clear blue, not a cloud. No storm. Emiline grabbed his arm, pulled him toward the wagon. Her grip was iron, face urgent. All right, we'll head back. Loaded tools, started home. By the time they reached the ranch, sky had darkened. By the time horses were in the barn, first drops fell. 10 minutes later, heaven opened. Silas stood in the barn doorway, watching sheets of rain hammer the earth. Lightning split the sky in white cracks. How'd you know? He turned to Emiline. She couldn't hear, but she touched her chest right over her heart, then pointed to the sky. She'd felt it coming. You're something else, Emiline. She smiled and went back to brushing horses, completely unbothered by the storm. Days became weeks. A rhythm formed. Wake to coffee already made. Breakfast in silence. Work. Lunch. More work. Dinner. Sit on the porch as sun went down. Never spoke. Didn't need to. But 3 weeks in, something happened that changed everything. Silas was shoeing Trouble, an ornery gelding who'd earned his name, when the horse suddenly reared. Silas fell backward. The horseshoe flew from his hand. Trouble's hooves came down right where his head had been. Except it wasn't there. Emiline had grabbed his collar and yanked him aside a split second before impact. Silas lay in the dirt, heart hammering, staring up at her. She'd been across the barn, 20 feet away. Couldn't have seen it coming. How did you... She helped him up, checked him for injuries, then calmly walked to Trouble and placed her hand on the horse's neck. The gelding went from wild-eyed to docile in seconds. Silas brushed himself off, hands shaking. "You've got a gift." She didn't hear, but maybe she felt it. That night, he couldn't sleep. Kept replaying it, the way she'd moved before trouble reared, like she knew what would happen before it did. He got up, walked to the kitchen for water, found Emiline sitting at the table in the dark. She looked up at him, then did something she'd never done before. She stood, walked to the cupboard above the stove, the one he never opened, pulled out a small wooden box, handed it to him. Silas's hands shook. "How did you—" She couldn't hear the question, but she touched his chest, then touched her own. He opened the box. Inside was a letter, yellow with age, Margaret's handwriting. "My dearest Silas, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I made the doctor promise to hide it where you'd never look above the stove because Lord knows you barely cook. I need you to promise me something. Don't die with me. I know how you get, how you disappear into yourself when things hurt too much. Find someone who needs you. Save them. Not because they deserve it, but because you need to remember what it feels like to be human again. I'll love you forever. But forever's done for me. Yours is still going. Don't waste it." Your Margaret. Tears hit the paper before Silas realized he was crying. Emiline stood there watching, not pitying, understanding. She touched the letter, then touched his hand, then touched her own chest again. She was telling him something. He could feel it, even if he couldn't hear it. "I need you too." Silas folded the letter carefully, put it back in the box. "Thank you," he whispered. She smiled, then went back to her room. Silas sat alone in the dark holding the box, feeling something he hadn't felt in 11 years. Hope. October arrived cold. Silas went to town for supplies. Left Emiline at the ranch, she preferred it. Crowds overwhelmed her. He was loading his wagon when Marcus Petty approached, thin-lipped man with a Bible in one hand and judgment in his heart. "Heard you got yourself a woman Carrian." Silas didn't look up. "Got myself a ranch hand. Living in your house, unmarried, young enough to be your daughter." People should mind their business. It becomes our business when sin walks among us. There's no sin in giving someone a roof and honest work. Marcus leaned closer. "She's the deaf girl Jacob Ware was selling. Can't even hear God's word. Some say she's unnatural, knows things she shouldn't." Silas looked up now. "Careful. Finish that sentence, and we'll have a problem. Widow Morrison's cow died last week. Same day your girl walked past. Henderson boy broke his arm. Said he saw her right before it happened. Coincidence? Or witchcraft?" Silas stepped forward. Marcus stepped back. "Emiline is not a witch. She's a girl who was treated like property by her own father and mocked by this town. Now she's working hard and bothering nobody. You got a problem with that, take it up with me." He climbed onto his wagon and drove away, hands shaking with anger. He didn't tell Emiline. What was the point? She couldn't hear it anyway. But word spread. Next week, women at the creek gathered their washing and left when Emiline arrived. Week after feed prices doubled at the store. Supply issues. The clerk said not meeting Silas's eyes. Supply issues or Emiline issues. No answer. Silas paid and left. Everything exploded in November. The Crawley boy, 8 years old sweet kid, fell through ice on the pond behind his family's place. They got him out blue and unresponsive. Emiline had been in town buying thread, rare occurrence. She saw the commotion and walked to the Crawley house before Silas could stop her. Mrs. Crawley was screaming, holding her son's frozen body. Mr. Crawley trying to warm him by the fire. Doctor hadn't arrived. Emiline knelt beside the boy. "Get away from him!" Mrs. Crawley shrieked. "Don't touch him!" But Emiline didn't hear. She placed both hands on the boy's chest, closed her eyes. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the boy gasped, wet, rattling, and coughed up water. His eyes opened. Color returned. "Mama!" Mrs. Crawley pulled him close, sobbing. Emiline stood and walked away without a word. Doctor arrived 20 minutes later, called it a miracle, but by sundown the whole town was talking. She touched him, and he came back. That's not natural. She heard him dying even though she's deaf. Witchcraft, Marcus Petty declared from the church steps. Devil's work. Dutch rode out that evening looking worried. They're talking about driving her out, Silas. Some talking about worse. Worse. Marcus is quoting Exodus. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Ice filled Silas's veins. They wouldn't. Fear makes people stupid, and they're scared of her. That night, Silas sat on the porch with his rifle across his lap, watching the road. Emiline came out, looked at the rifle, at his face, at the road. She understood. Then she did something that stopped his heart. She opened her mouth, her lips moved. Sound came out broken, unused but clear. No. Silas nearly dropped the rifle. You can speak. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Tried again. Let them come. Emiline. She knelt beside him, took his hand, pressed it against her throat so he could feel the vibration as she forced out words she hadn't spoken in years. I hear everything. Always did. Father made me silent. Said my voice was devil's curse. Silas felt like he'd been punched in the chest. You've been able to hear this whole time. Nod. And speak. Another nod. Why didn't you? She touched his chest, then her own, then pointed to the road where the torches might come. Because you didn't need words. You needed someone who understood. Silence. Silas pulled her into his arms. She was shaking. Or maybe he was. Hard to tell. If they come, he said into her hair, they'll have to go through me. She pulled back, looked him in the eyes, spoke again clearer this time. They won't. I saved their son. They're afraid, but they're not monsters. You sure about that? She smiled, sad and knowing. I hear their hearts, Silas. Even when they don't speak, they're scared, but so am I. Difference is, I'm not alone anymore. They sat together on the porch, rifle across his lap, her hand in his, watching the empty road under a sky full of stars. No torches came that night. But morning would bring something neither of them expected. Because 30 miles away, Jacob Ware had just made a decision that would change everything. He wanted his daughter back, and he was bringing the law with him. Dawn came quiet. Too quiet. Silas woke with his back against the porch post, rifle still across his lap. Emiline asleep with her head on his shoulder. For a moment, he just sat there feeling the weight of her trust, the warmth of another human being after 11 years of cold. Then, he heard the horses. His eyes snapped open. Emiline was already awake, already looking down the road. How many? He asked. She held up 4 fingers. You can hear them already. She nodded, pointed to her ear, then swept her hand in a wide arc. Her hearing wasn't just good. It was impossible. How far? She looked at the horizon, calculating. Held her hands apart. Maybe 2 miles. We've got 10 minutes. Silas stood, joints protesting. Get inside. Lock the door. She shook her head, stood beside him instead. Emiline. No. Her voice was still rough, unpracticed, but firm. Not hiding. Not anymore. He wanted to argue. wanted to protect her the way he couldn't protect Margaret or Thomas. But the look in her eyes stopped him. She'd been hiding her whole life. "All right," he said, "but you stay behind me." She almost smiled at that. They waited. The sun climbed higher. The horses got closer. Silas could hear them now too. 4 riders moving at an easy pace, not rushing. Men who believed they had the law on their side usually didn't rush. When they crested the hill, Silas recognized 3 of them immediately. Jacob Ware rode in front, looking worse than he had at the market. Thinner, more hollow. He'd spent Silas's $40 on whiskey and regret by the looks of him. Beside him rode Sheriff Tom Brennan, 50 years old, decent man, trapped in an impossible job. He'd been sheriff for 20 years, and it showed in every line on his face. Behind them came Marcus Petty, on his gray mare Bible, strapped to his saddle like a weapon. The 4th rider, Silas didn't recognize. Young man, maybe 30, wearing a suit too nice for Texas dust. He carried a leather case, and had the look of someone who believed words mattered more than bullets. They stopped 20 feet from the porch. "Morning, Silas," Sheriff Brennan said. Tired voice, apologetic eyes. "Tom? Mind if we talk? Depends on what you're here to talk about." Jacob Ware spoke up, words tumbling out drunk and desperate. "You got my daughter. I want her back." Silas felt Emiline go still behind him. "You sold her. For $20. In front of witnesses." "I was drunk. Didn't know what I was doing. She's my daughter. My property." "She's 19 years old," Silas cut him off. "She's nobody's property." The young man in the suit cleared his throat. "Mr. Carrian, my name is William Foster. I'm an attorney from Abilene. Mr. Ware has retained my services to recover his daughter on the grounds that the transaction was conducted under duress and diminished capacity." "Diminished capacity," Silas repeated. "That's a fancy way of saying he was too drunk to know better." "Precisely. So every man who sells something while drunk gets to take it back. That how the law works now?" Foster shifted in his saddle. "In cases involving human beings, the law takes a more nuanced approach. She's not a case, she's a person. Which is exactly why she should have a say in this matter." Foster looked past Silas to where Emiline stood. "Miss Ware, I'd like to speak with you. Privately, if possible." Emiline stepped forward. Silas moved to block her, but she touched his arm, gentle but insistent. "I can speak," she said. Her voice carried across the space between them, rough but clear. "For myself." Jacob Ware's face went white. You can talk. Always could. You just never wanted to hear it." "That's a lie. You've been deaf and mute since Mama died." Emiline's voice didn't rise, but it cut like a knife. "Since you told me her death was my fault. Since you said my voice was a curse, and if I ever spoke again, the devil would come for me too." Silence fell over the group like a physical thing. Sheriff Brennan looked at Jacob with something close to disgust. "That true?" Jacob's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Foster cleared his throat again, visibly uncomfortable. "Miss Ware, regardless of your father's past actions, the law is clear. You are his daughter. Unless you can demonstrate that returning to his care would put you in immediate physical danger." "I can demonstrate that keeping her here puts her in danger," Marcus Petty interrupted. "The girl's a witch. She brought the Crawley boy back from the dead. That's necromancy, devil's work." "I used herbs and pressure on his chest," Emiline said calmly. "Same thing the doctor would have done if he'd arrived sooner. The boy wasn't dead. He was drowning on dry land. You knew he was in trouble before anyone else. You heard it, even though you were half a mile away and supposedly deaf. I hear everything. Always have. It's not witchcraft. It's just how I'm made." Marcus pulled his Bible from his saddle. "The Lord says a lot of things." Emiline cut him off. "Including, 'Judge not lest ye be judged,' and 'let he who is without sin cast the first stone.' You want to talk about what the Lord says?" "Reverend, Let's start with bearing false witness. Marcus's face went red. Sheriff Brennan held up a hand. Everyone calm down. Miss Ware, I need to ask you a direct question, and I need a direct answer. Do you want to go back with your father? No. Do you feel safe here with Mr. Carrian? Yes. Has he harmed you or forced you to do anything against your will? No. He freed me, fed me, gave me a home, asked nothing in return. Brennan looked at Foster. Seems pretty clear to me. Foster shook his head. With respect, Sheriff, the young lady may be under duress. Stockholm Syndrome, some call it. She may feel obligated to her captor. I'm not her captor, Silas said quietly. Dangerously. I'm the man who untied the rope around her wrist while grown men laughed. Even so, the law, Emiline said, voice rising now, says I'm of age. Says I can choose where I live and who I live with. Says I'm a free person with rights. Or does that only apply when it's convenient? Foster looked genuinely troubled now. Miss Ware, I understand your position, but your father has legal standing. My father sold me like livestock, in front of 40 witnesses. You want to talk about legal standing? Let's talk about human trafficking. Let's talk about slavery. Let's talk about how many laws he broke before Mr. Carrian broke any. The words hit like bullets. Foster actually flinched. Jacob Ware finally found his voice. I'm your father. You owe me. I owe you nothing. Emiline stepped past Silas now, down off the porch, walking toward the horses. You tied a rope around my wrist and sold me for drinking money. You told me I killed my mother. You made me believe my voice was cursed. You stole 19 years of my life and now you want more. I was grieving. You were drunk. You're still drunk. You don't want me back because you love me. You want me back because Mr. Carrian made you look like the monster you are. Jacob's hand moved toward his belt, toward the knife he kept there. Silas had the rifle up before Jacob's fingers touched leather. Don't, Silas said. One word, flat and final. Sheriff Brennan moved his horse between them. Jacob, so help me God, if you draw that knife, I'll arrest you myself. She's my daughter. She's a grown woman who's made her choice clear. You don't like it. That's your problem. But you pull a weapon on this property and it becomes my problem. We clear. Jacob's hand fell away from the knife. His face crumpled. For a moment he looked almost human, almost sorry. I loved your mother, he said to Emiline. When she died, I couldn't... I know, Emiline said quietly. I loved her too. Difference is, I didn't blame an infant for being born. Tears ran down Jacob's face. I'm sorry. I know that too. But sorry doesn't undo 19 years. She turned and walked back to the porch, stood beside Silas, took his hand. The gesture wasn't lost on anyone. Marcus Petty made a disgusted sound. Living in sin. Unmarried. The girl's barely legal and he's old enough to be her father. I'm old enough to make my own choices, Emiline said. And I choose to stay here. With him. You don't like it. Don't look. Foster cleared his throat one more time. Sheriff, I believe we may need to involve a judge. No judge is going to override a woman's clearly stated wishes, Brennan said. Not in this county, not while I'm sheriff. He looked at Jacob. You want to file a formal complaint, you're welcome to try. But I'm telling you right now you'll lose. And you'll look like a fool doing it. Jacob slumped in his saddle. The fight went out of him all at once. Just wanted my little girl back. You never had her, Emiline said. You had a prisoner. Mr. Carrian gave me back myself. They stayed like that for a long moment. 4 men on horses, 2 people on a porch, the morning sun climbing higher. Finally, Sheriff Brennan sighed. We're done here. Jacob, let's go. But we're done. Foster looked like he wanted to argue, looked at Emiline's face and decided against it. Miss Ware, if you change your mind. I won't. Even so, my office is in Emiline. You're welcome anytime. Appreciated, but unnecessary. The four men turned their horses, started back down the road. Jacob looked back once. Emiline didn't wave, didn't acknowledge him, just stood there holding Silas's hand until they were gone. When the dust settled, she let out a breath she'd been holding for what felt like 19 years. That was dangerous, Silas said quietly. Taking my hand like that, in front of witnesses. They'll talk. Let them. They'll say things. About us. About what we are to each other. She looked up at him. What are we to each other? Silas opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't know, but it's not I didn't bring you here for. I know. You brought me here because you're a good man who couldn't stand by and watch someone suffer. Same reason you still wear your wedding ring. Same reason you kept your son's room exactly as he left it. Silas looked down at the ring on his finger. He'd forgotten it was there. Worn it so long it was part of him. Margaret wrote that letter before she died, he said. Told me to find someone who needed saving. Said I needed to remember how to be human. He met Emiline's eyes. I think maybe you're saving me more than I'm saving you. Maybe we're saving each other. Maybe. They stood there on the porch, hands still together, neither one pulling away. I should get to work, Silas said finally. Fence won't mend itself. I'll make lunch. You don't have to. I know. I want to. She went inside. Silas stood there alone, feeling the ghost of her hand in his, wondering what the hell he was doing, and knowing he wouldn't stop doing it even if he could. Behind him, through the window, he heard Emiline humming, soft and off-key, and the most beautiful sound he'd heard in 11 years. Inside the house, Emiline stood at the kitchen counter, hands shaking, as she cut vegetables for stew. Her voice still hurt from speaking, throat raw from years of silence. But it was a good hurt, the kind that meant healing. She thought about her father's face when she'd spoken. The shock. The betrayal. Like she'd broken some sacred contract by refusing to stay voiceless. Part of her felt guilty. Small part, but there. The rest of her felt free. She heard Silas outside hammering something in the barn. Even with walls between them, she could hear his heartbeat. Steady. Strong. Safe. That's what drew her to him in the market. Not his face or his money or his ranch, his heartbeat. It was the first one she'd heard in 19 years that didn't have fear or hate or pity in it. It just was. She'd heard her father's heart too that day. Racing. Desperate. Drowning in whiskey and regret. She could have saved him if he'd let her. Could have saved him from himself. But some people didn't want saving. The knife slipped. Cut her finger. Blood welled up bright red against her pale skin. She didn't cry out. Didn't flinch. Just wrapped it in a clean cloth and kept working. She'd had worse. By noon the stew was ready. She walked out to the barn to call Silas in for lunch and found him sitting on a hay bale, head in his hands. Silas. He looked up. His eyes were red. You all right? Fine. Just... He stood brushing hay off his pants. Thinking about Thomas. He'd be 30 now if he'd lived. Probably married. Probably making me a grandfather. Emiline walked closer. Tell me about him. Not much to tell. He was 16, full of life. Thought he could ride any horse that breathed. Got thrown from a Mustang we'd just bought. Broke his neck. Silas's voice cracked. Died before I could reach him. I'm sorry. Been 14 years. Should be over it by now. You never get over losing someone you love. You just get used to carrying the weight. Silas looked at her. Really looked at her. You're 19 years old. How are you so old? She smiled. Turns out silence gives you a lot of time to think, to listen, to understand things most people miss because they're too busy talking. What do you hear now when you listen to me? She stepped closer, placed her hand over his heart, closed her eyes. I hear a man who loved hard and lost hard, who built walls so high nobody could climb them, who forgot what it feels like to let someone in. She opened her eyes. I also hear a man who's starting to remember. Silas put his hand over hers. I'm too old for you. You're 52. I'm 19. That's 33 years. Exactly. My mother was 20 years younger than my father. Age didn't matter when they loved each other. It only mattered when they stopped. I can't. Silas struggled with the words. I can't promise you anything, Emiline. I'm broken. Been broken for a long time. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking for a chance. A chance at what? At whatever this is, whatever it becomes. A chance to find out if two broken people can make something whole. Silas pulled his hand away, took a step back. People will talk. They're already talking. I mean really talk. They'll say I took advantage, that I bought you, that you're only here because you have nowhere else to go. Are any of those things true? No. Then I don't care what they say. I care. I care what happens to you, what people think of you. Emiline's expression hardened. You know what people thought of me for 19 years, that I was cursed, broken, devil-touched, that I killed my mother just by being born. I survived that. I can survive gossip. This is different. Why? Because it involves you. Because for the first time in your life, you might have to care what people think. That hit home. Silas flinched. I've lived alone for 11 years, he said quietly. Didn't care what people said. Didn't care what they thought. Made it easier. Easier to what? To not feel anything. And now I feel everything. And it's terrifying. Emiline took his hand again. Good. Terrified means alive. Alive means there's something worth protecting. They stood there in the barn dust motes dancing in the sunlight, the smell of hay and horses, and something neither one could name. Stew's ready, Emiline said finally. All right. They walked back to the house side by side, not touching, but close enough that their shoulders brushed with every step. Inside they ate in comfortable silence. The kind that only happens between people who understand that words aren't always necessary. Halfway through the meal, Emiline spoke. They'll come back. Silas looked up. Jacob. Marcus, the preacher. He's not done. I heard his heartbeat when he left. It was angry, righteous, dangerous. You heard his heartbeat from 20 feet away. I hear everything within a mile. Heartbeats, breathing, footsteps. Thoughts sometimes if they're loud enough. Silas set down his spoon. That's not possible. Most things aren't possible until they happen. How long have you been able to do this? Always, since I was born. Mama said I used to cry before storms came, before anyone got sick, before bad things happened. Papa said it was the devil's gift, said I was marked. It's not the devil's gift. What is it then? I don't know, but it saved my life when trouble reared, saved the Crawley boy when he drowned, saved me from walking into a storm without shelter. Silas reached across the table, took her hand. Whatever it is, I'm grateful for it. Tears filled Emiline's eyes. No one's ever said that before. Then no one's been paying attention. She squeezed his hand. Thank you. For what? For seeing me as something other than broken. You're not broken, Emiline. You're extraordinary. That afternoon, they worked together in the garden. Emiline had planted vegetables a few weeks back, carrots, potatoes, beans. They were starting to come up now, green shoots pushing through dark soil. How'd you know what to plant? Silas asked. Books. You have a whole shelf of them. Farming guides, animal husbandry, weather patterns. I read them at night when you're asleep. You can read. Mama taught me before she died. Papa never knew. He thought I was just looking at pictures. Silas shook his head. Your father's a fool. My father's a drunk. There's a difference. Fools don't know better. Drunks know and don't care. They worked until sunset painted the sky orange and pink. Emiline stood, brushed dirt from her hands, and looked toward town. "They're gathering," she said. "Who?" "Marcus and his followers. About 30 people. They're meeting at the church." "How can you possibly—" "I told you. I hear everything." "What are they saying?" Emiline closed her eyes, concentrated. "They're afraid. Talking about purging evil, about protecting the town. Marcus is quoting scripture. Exodus 22 verse 18. What's that say? Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Silas felt ice in his chest. "We need to leave. Tonight. Head west. Start over somewhere they don't know us." "No. Emiline, no. I'm done running, done hiding, done letting fear decide where I go and what I do." She turned to face him. "If they come, we face them, together. There's 30 of them and 2 of us. There's 30 scared people and 2 people who know the truth. Numbers don't always matter." Silas wanted to argue, wanted to throw her over his shoulder and ride until they hit the ocean. But the look in her eyes stopped him. She'd made up her mind. "All right," he said. "We stay. But we do this smart. We fortify the house, stock supplies, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best, and pray they come to their senses before it's too late." They spent the next 2 hours boarding windows, moving valuables to the cellar loading rifles. Silas had 3, his Henry repeater, an old Springfield, and a shotgun Margaret used to use for turkeys. He showed Emiline how to load and fire each one. "You ever shoot before?" "No." "It's loud, kicks hard, might hurt your shoulder." "I can handle pain." "I know, but you don't have to prove anything." "I'm not proving anything. I'm protecting what's mine." "The ranch. You." The word hung in the air between them. Silas cleared his throat. "Emiline, I know what I said. I meant it. You're mine and I'm yours. Not because of ownership, because of choice. My choice. Finally." Before Silas could respond, Emiline stiffened. "They're coming. Now. No. But soon, an hour, maybe 2. They're working up courage, passing around whiskey, convincing themselves this is God's work." "How many?" 20. The others backed out. Too scared or too smart, hard to tell. 20's still too many. "Then we'd better be ready." They took positions. Silas on the porch with the Henry. Emiline inside by the window with the Springfield. "If shooting starts," Silas said, "you aim for legs. We won't, we don't kill. These are our neighbors. These are people coming to kill me." "Even so." Emiline nodded. "Legs. Got it." They waited. The sun went down. Stars came out. The temperature dropped. Emiline's voice drifted through the window. "Silas?" "Yeah." "If this goes badly, if they—" "It won't. But if it does, I want you to know, these last few weeks, they've been the best of my life." Silas felt something break open in his chest. Mine too. "Really? Really? Even better than with Margaret. Different than with Margaret. She was my wife, my partner, mother of my son. What we had was built over years." He paused. "What we have is, I don't even know what to call it." "How about hope?" "Yeah, hope works." In the distance, torches appeared, moving up the road like fireflies. 20 points of light in the darkness. "Here they come," Emiline said. "Remember, legs only." Legs only. The mob stopped 50 yards out, just beyond rifle range. Smart. Marcus Petty rode forward alone, torch held high, Bible in his other hand. "Silas Carrian." His voice carried across the distance. "Send out the witch, and there'll be no trouble." "She's not a witch," Silas shouted back. She's a girl with a gift. The devil's gift. God's gift. She saved a boy's life. She brought him back from the dead. That's necromancy, Satan's work. That's medicine, that's compassion, that's everything your God supposedly stands for. Marcus's face twisted in the torchlight. You've been deceived. Carrian, seduced by evil. Send her out and save your soul. My soul's fine. Yours, I'm not so sure about. Final warning. Send her out or we come in. Silas raised the Henry. Come ahead. See what happens. The mob shifted, nervous. They'd expected an easy surrender, not resistance. Marcus tried again. There's 20 of us. You can't fight 20. Maybe not, but I can damn sure make it expensive. Question is, who wants to be first? Who wants to explain to their wife and kids why they died trying to murder a 19-year-old girl? Silence. The mob looked at each other, doubt spreading like cracks in ice. Then a voice from the back. He's right. This ain't right. Shut up. Marcus snarled. No, I won't shut up. Sarah's right. This is murder, dressed up as righteousness, but murder all the same. More voices now, arguing, the mob fracturing. Inside the house, Emiline smiled. It's working. Not yet, Silas said. Marcus is too committed. Marcus spurred his horse forward. Alone now, torch held high like a sword. 20 yards. 15. Silas put the rifle to his shoulder. Stop right there, Marcus. In the name of the Lord. Stop. 10 yards. 5. Silas adjusted his aim. Down. Toward the horse's legs, not Marcus. He squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the night. The horse screamed and reared. Marcus flew backward, hit the ground hard, torch rolling away into the grass. Silas jacked another round into the chamber. Next one's for you. Not the horse. Marcus lay in the dirt. Wind knocked out of him, staring up at the stars. Behind him, the mob was falling apart. People shouting, some leaving already, others frozen in place. Then a new voice cut through the chaos. Everyone shut the hell up. Sheriff Brennan rode out of the darkness, star on his chest catching moonlight. He was alone, but he rode like he had an army behind him. What in God's name is going on here? The witch. Marcus gasped. She's not a witch, she's a girl. And you're a mob. Which one of those sounds more like Satan's work to you? Silence. That's what I thought. Now everyone go home, right now, before I start making arrests. We have the right. You have the right to shut your mouth and get off this man's property before I throw you in jail for trespassing, attempted murder, and being a general pain in my ass. Move. The mob broke, people scattering like leaves in wind. Within 2 minutes, only Marcus and Brennan remained. The sheriff dismounted, walked over to Marcus, offered him a hand. Marcus took it, got to his feet, looked at Silas with something that might have been respect or might have been hate. Hard to tell in the darkness. This isn't over, Marcus said. Yeah, Brennan replied. It is. And if I hear one more word about witches or mobs or any of this nonsense, I'll arrest you myself. Clear. Marcus didn't answer. Just collected his horse and limped away into the night. Brennan walked up to the porch, looked at Silas. You all right? Fine. You? Tired. Too old for this job. He glanced at the boarded windows. She inside? Yeah. Mind if I talk to her? Silas hesitated, then nodded. Emiline Sheriff wants a word. She appeared in the doorway, rifle still in her hands. Brennan took off his hat. Miss Ware, I owe you an apology. Should have put a stop to this sooner. Should have stood up to Marcus days ago. But you didn't. No, I didn't. And that's on me. Why now? Why tonight? Because I went home and looked at my daughter. She's 17, not much younger than you, And I thought about what I'd do if someone tried to hurt her because they didn't understand her, because she scared them. He met Emiline's eyes. I'd burn the world down. Figured you deserved at least one person willing to do the same. Emiline lowered the rifle. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This town's scared. Fear doesn't go away easy. Best thing you can do is lie low. Stay out of sight. Let people forget. I'm done hiding. Brennan sighed. Figured you'd say that. Just be careful, both of you. He put his hat back on, mounted his horse, rode away into the darkness. Silas and Emiline stood on the porch watching him go. Think he's right? Emiline asked. Think we should hide? Doesn't matter what I think. You've already decided. I want to know what you think anyway. Silas was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I think fear wins when good people stay silent. I think Margaret would have liked you. I think Thomas would have too. And I think... He stopped, started again. I think maybe it's time I stopped hiding too. Emiline took his hand. Together then. Together. They went inside, locked the door, unboarded the windows, made coffee and sat at the table as the clock ticked past midnight. What now? Emiline asked. Now we live, we work. We prove them wrong by being exactly what we are. And what are we? I don't know yet, but I think we're going to figure it out. Outside, the wind picked up. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Rain was coming. But inside, for the first time in 11 years, Silas Carrian's house felt like a home. And for the first time in 19 years, Emiline Ware felt like she belonged somewhere. The hard part was just beginning, but at least they'd face it together. The storm hit an hour before dawn. Rain hammered the roof like fists demanding entry. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning turned night into day for split seconds at a time. Silas woke to find Emiline standing at the window, watching the storm with her hand pressed against the glass. Can't sleep? He asked. She didn't turn around. I can hear them. Hear who? Everyone. The whole town. They're awake. Scared. The storm's worse than they expected. She tilted her head slightly. The Miller family's roof just caved in. Mrs. Patterson's basement is flooding. The church steeple's swaying like it might come down. Silas sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. How bad? Bad enough that they'll need help. Bad enough that pride won't keep them from asking. They won't ask you. Not after last night. I know. She finally turned to face him. But I'm going anyway. Emiline. People are hurt, scared. I can help them. They tried to kill you 6 hours ago. I know, I was there. She walked to the door, pulled on her boots. You coming or staying? Silas threw off his blanket. You're going to be the death of me. Better than dying alone. They hitched the wagon in the rain, loaded it with rope canvas tools, medical supplies from Emiline's herb collection. The mare didn't want to go out in the storm, but Emiline whispered something in her ear, and the horse calmed immediately. What did you say to her? That we're going to save lives. Horses understand that better than people sometimes. They rode into town as the sun tried and failed to break through the clouds. The main street was a river. Buildings had lost shingles, windows, whole sections of wall. The general store's awning hung by one corner, flapping in the wind like a broken wing. People were everywhere, trying to salvage belongings, comfort crying children, dig through debris. When Silas's wagon appeared, people stopped and stared. Marcus Petty stood in front of the church, which had lost its steeple exactly as Emiline predicted. His face went through about 6 different expressions when he saw them. Shock, anger, confusion, something that might have been shame. Sheriff Brennan was there too, coordinating rescue efforts soaked to the bone. He saw Silas and Emiline and walked over. What are you doing here? Heard you needed help, Silas said. Brennan looked at Emiline. You heard, from 7 miles away. Storm was loud. Not that loud. Emiline didn't respond. Just climbed down from the wagon and started unloading supplies. "Where do you need us?" Silas asked. Brennan hesitated, looked around at the watching crowd, looked back at Silas and Emiline, made a decision. "Miller Place, roof collapsed. Families trapped inside. We can't get the debris moved fast enough." "We're on it." They drove to the Miller property on the edge of town. The house looked like a giant had stepped on it. The entire second floor had caved into the first. People were digging, frantically calling out names. "How many inside?" Emiline asked. "5," someone answered. "Ben and Mary Miller. They're 3 kids." Emiline closed her eyes, concentrated. "They're alive, all 5, trapped in the kitchen, buried under the staircase, but there's an air pocket. They have maybe 2 hours before the weight shifts and crushes them." Everyone stopped digging and stared at her. "How could you possibly know that?" Ben Miller's brother demanded. "Does it matter? You want to save them or stand here asking questions?" She grabbed a shovel and started digging. After a moment, Silas joined her. Then one person, then another, then everyone. They dug for 90 minutes. Emiline directed them with impossible precision. "Move that beam. Careful of the weight there. Dig left, not right." Every instruction proved correct. When they finally broke through to the kitchen, all 5 Millers were exactly where Emiline said they'd be. Dirty, terrified, but alive. Mary Miller crawled out first, 3 kids behind her, then Ben. When Mary saw Emiline, she froze. "You," she whispered. "Me. You saved us." "We all did." "No. You knew where we were. You knew we were alive. You—" Mary's voice broke. "Thank you." She threw her arms around Emiline, held her tight, started crying. Emiline stood there stiff and awkward, clearly not used to gratitude. Then slowly, carefully, she hugged back. The crowd watched in silence. Marcus Petty watched too from the back. His face was unreadable. They spent the rest of the day helping. Emiline found 2 more families trapped in debris, located a missing child who'd wandered off in the confusion and fallen down a well, warned them about a wall that was about to collapse 30 seconds before it did, saving 3 men from being crushed. By evening, people stopped staring at her with fear, started looking at her with something closer to wonder, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of trust. They were loading up to leave when Marcus Petty approached. He looked 10 years older than he had that morning. Looked like a man who'd seen something that broke his certainty in half. "Miss Ware," he said, formal, careful. "Reverend, I owe you an apology, a real one, not the kind you give because someone's watching." He took off his hat. "I was wrong, about you, about what you are, about what God wants." "And what does God want?" "I don't know anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's not burning 19-year-old girls for having gifts we don't understand." Emiline studied his face. "You meant it last night. When you came with that mob, you really believed I was evil." "I did." "What changed?" "I watched you dig for 2 hours to save a family. Watched you risk that wall falling on you to warn people you've never met. Watched you give everything you had to help a town that wanted you dead." He met her eyes. "Evil doesn't do that. I was a fool." "Yes, you were." Marcus flinched. "But fools can learn," Emiline continued. "Fanatics can't. Which one are you?" "I'd like to be the first. If you'll let me." Emiline looked at Silas. He shrugged. "Your call. You want forgiveness, Reverend? I want a chance to earn it." "Then start by telling your congregation the truth. That you were wrong. That fear made you see evil where there was only difference. That God makes all kinds of people, and just because we don't understand them doesn't mean they're damned." Marcus's jaw worked. "That's a hard sermon." "Should be. Truth usually is. And if I preach it, then maybe we can start over. Maybe." Marcus nodded slowly. I'll do it. This Sunday. I'll be there to hear it. You'll come to church. Someone needs to make sure you keep your word. Marcus almost smiled. Fair enough. He put his hat back on, started to walk away, stopped. Miss Ware, thank you for saving them, for saving all of us. I didn't do it for you. I know. That's what makes it mean something. He walked away into the gathering darkness. Silas climbed onto the wagon. Emiline sat beside him. That was generous of you, he said. That was strategic. If the preacher's on our side, the town follows. If the town follows, we stop worrying about mobs in the night. So it wasn't about forgiveness. Didn't say that. Said it was strategic. Can't it be both? Silas smiled. First real smile in days. You're smarter than people give you credit for. People don't give me credit for anything. That's the advantage. Low expectations. They rode home in comfortable silence. The storm had passed. Stars were coming out. The air smelled clean and new. Back at the ranch, they took care of the horse, ate cold stew left over from lunch, sat on the porch, watching the moon rise. You were right, Silas said. About what? About not hiding. About facing them. If we'd run, they'd have spent the rest of their lives believing you were evil. Now they know different. Some of them, not all. Some's better than none. Emiline leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm tired. You worked harder than anyone today. Not that kind of tired, the other kind. The kind that comes from always having to prove you're not a monster. Silas put his arm around her. You don't have to prove anything to me. I know. That's why I'm tired. Around you I can just be. Everywhere else I have to perform. Show them I'm harmless. Show them I'm useful. Show them I'm worth keeping alive. That's not fair. No, but it's true. They sat like that for a long time. Two people who'd found something in each other that the world had tried to take away. Peace. Acceptance. Home. Silas. Yeah. When you look at me, what do you see? He thought about it. Really thought. I see someone brave, someone kind, someone who survived things that would have broken most people. I see someone who hears the world in ways I can't imagine, someone who saves lives and asks nothing in return. He paused. I see someone I don't deserve but am grateful to know anyway. You deserve me. You saved me first. I untied a rope. You did the rest. We saved each other then. Yeah, I think we did. Emiline lifted her head and looked at him. Really looked, like she was memorizing every line on his face. I'm going to kiss you now. If that's not okay, say something. Silas's heart hammered against his ribs. Emiline, is that a yes or a no? It's a, I'm 33 years older than you. I know how math works. People will talk. Let them. I'm still in love with Margaret, part of me, maybe always will be. I know. I can hear it in your heartbeat when you think about her, but there's room in there for more than one person. Hearts are bigger than people think. What if I hurt you? What if you don't? She kissed him, soft and careful, like she was asking a question. Silas kissed her back, like he was answering. When they pulled apart, both of them were shaking. That was... Silas couldn't finish. Yeah. We should talk about this. About what it means. About where this goes. Or we could just let it be what it is. See where it goes without planning every step. I'm not good at that. I'm a planner. Margaret used to say I'd plan my own funeral down to the color of the flowers. Did you? Lilies, white ones. She loved those. Emiline smiled. Then I'll make sure you have them. When the time comes, 50 years from now. I'll be 102. I'll be 69, still young enough to dig your grave. Silas laughed. Actually laughed. First time and he couldn't remember when. You're morbid. I'm practical. There's a difference. They went inside. Silas banked the fire while Emiline made tea. They sat at the table drinking it, not talking, just being together. "I should get to bed," Emiline said finally. "Big day tomorrow." "What's tomorrow?" "Sunday. Church. Remember I promised Marcus I'd be there to hear his sermon." "You're really going?" "I keep my promises. Unlike some people." "What's that supposed to mean?" "You promised to figure out what we are to each other. Haven't heard much figuring." Silas set down his cup. "You want to know what I think we are?" "Yes. I think we're two broken people who found each other at exactly the right time. I think we're learning what it means to let someone in after years of being alone. I think we're terrified and hopeful and confused and maybe a little bit in love, even though it's too soon and too complicated and makes no sense at all." Emiline was quiet for a long moment. "That's the most words I've heard you string together since we met." "You asked." "I did. And that's a good answer." She stood, walked to her room, stopped at the door. "For what it's worth, I think we're all those things too. Especially the last one." She went inside and closed the door. Silas sat alone at the table, heart racing, wondering what the hell he'd just done, and knowing he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Sunday morning came clear and cold. Emiline wore the dress Mary Miller had given her the day before. Blue calico, simple but clean. She'd washed her hair and braided it. Looked almost nervous. "You all right?" Silas asked. "Haven't been to church since Mama died. Papa wouldn't let me. Said I'd curse the building just by walking in. Your father was wrong about a lot of things. Doesn't mean I'm not scared. Want me to come with you? You hate church. I hate a lot of things. Doesn't mean I won't do them for you." She smiled. "Yes. Come with me." They rode to town together. The church was packed, every pew full, people standing in the back. Word had spread about the storm, about the rescue, about what Emiline had done. When they walked in, the room went silent. Every head turned. Marcus Petty stood at the pulpit. He saw them and nodded. "Mr. Carrian, Miss Ware, please sit." There was one empty pew in the front, left empty out of respect for the Millers who were still recovering at home. Silas and Emiline sat down. The silence stretched. People stared, whispered. Then Mary Miller's brother stood up, walked to the front, sat down in the pew with them. His wife followed, then their children, then Ben Miller's parents, then the Hendersons, then the Crawleys. One by one, people came forward, sat with them, until the front pew was packed and people were standing beside it. Marcus watched with something like wonder on his face. "Well then, let's begin." He opened his Bible. "I had a sermon prepared, about righteousness, about knowing good from evil, about the clear path God sets before us." He closed the Bible. "I'm not giving that sermon, because I've learned this week that righteousness is easy when you're never challenged, and the path's only clear when you refuse to look at anything that complicates it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I stood in front of this church 5 days ago and called a 19-year-old girl a witch. Called her evil. Called for her to be driven out. And some of you believed me. Some of you followed me to her home with torches and weapons. We were going to hurt her, maybe kill her. And we believed we were doing God's work." The murmurs grew louder. "But then the storm came, and that girl we called evil, she came to help. Dug through debris for hours, saved 5 lives, maybe more, risked her own life to save people who'd wanted her dead the night before." His voice cracked. "And I realized something. I'd been so busy looking for evil that I couldn't see good standing right in front of me." Marcus looked directly at Emiline. "Miss Ware, I stood at this pulpit and condemned you, called you the devil's servant, led people to your door with violence in their hearts, and you repaid that by saving this town. I don't understand it, don't deserve it, but I'm grateful for it, and I'm sorry, deeply, truly sorry." He turned back to the congregation. "The Bible says we'll know people by their fruits, by their actions, by what they do when no one's forcing them. This girl's fruits are compassion, courage, mercy, If that's evil, then I don't know what good looks like anymore. Silence. Total and complete. Then someone in the back started clapping. Slow at first, then faster, then others joined in. Within seconds, the whole church was applauding. Emiline sat perfectly still, tears streaming down her face. Silas took her hand. You all right? I don't know. No one's ever... She couldn't finish. I know. After the service, people approached. Some to thank her, some to apologize, some just to touch her hand, like they needed to confirm she was real. Mrs. Patterson, whose basement had flooded, brought a basket of fresh bread. For you, made it this morning. Figure you could use something nice after what you did. The Henderson boy who'd broken his arm weeks ago came forward shy and awkward. Sorry I said you were scary. You're not. You're just different. That's okay. His mother hugged Emiline without asking permission. You saved my boy's life twice now. Once from that tree, once from that wall yesterday. How do I thank you for that? You don't have to. I want to, so I will, thank you. They stayed for an hour, meeting people, talking, being part of something neither of them had been part of in years. Community. On the ride home, Emiline was quiet, processing. That was good, Silas said. What happened in there? It was strange. All those people, wanting to touch me, talk to me, like I was human. Yeah. That's because you are. I know, but they didn't. Not until I proved it. That's the part that hurts, that I had to earn the right to be treated like a person. You're right. It does hurt, and it's not fair, but you changed their minds. That's worth something. Is it enough? I don't know, but it's a start. They got home and fell into their routine. Emiline made lunch. Silas checked on the horses. They ate together, worked together, existed together. That night, as they sat on the porch, Emiline spoke. I want to help people, not just in emergencies, all the time. The ones who are sick or hurt or scared, the ones the doctor won't see because they can't pay, the ones who fall through the cracks. You want to be a healer. I want to be useful. There's a difference. Not to the people you'd be helping. She looked at him. Would you mind if people started coming here for help? It's your home too. You can invite whoever you want. It might bring trouble. More people like Marcus. People who don't understand. Who think I'm dangerous. Then we'll deal with it, together. She smiled. You say that a lot now. Say what? Together, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Maybe it is. For us, maybe. Not for everyone. I don't care about everyone. I care about you. Emiline leaned her head against his shoulder again. I love you, just so you know. Might be too soon, might be inappropriate, but it's true, so I'm saying it. Silas felt his chest go tight. Emiline. You don't have to say it back. I know you're still figuring things out, still carrying Margaret and Thomas. I'm not asking you to let them go, just making room for me beside them. There's room. There's always been room. He struggled with the words. I didn't think I'd ever feel this way again. Didn't think I deserved to. Margaret was the love of my life. What we had was... I know, and I'm not trying to replace her. I'm just trying to be something new, something different, something yours. Silas turned to face her. I'm afraid. Of what? Of losing you, like I lost them. Of loving you and having you taken away. Of building something good and watching it burn. Those are all possibilities. Life doesn't come with guarantees. But you know what's certain right now. This moment, us. That's real. That's here. We can worry about tomorrow, or we can live in today. Your choice. Silas took her face in his hands. I choose today. And you. Always you. He kissed her. Longer this time. Deeper. Like he was trying to tell her everything he couldn't say with words. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. I love you too, Silas whispered. Don't know when it happened. Don't know how. But I do. God help me, I do. God has nothing to do with it. This is just us. Two people who found each other in the middle of nowhere and decided to hold on. Think we can make it work. I think we already are. They sat together under the stars, holding each other, building something new from the ruins of their separate pasts. Inside the house on the mantel, Margaret's photograph watched over them. Silas had turned it face down the day after Emiline arrived, unable to look at it without pain. That night, he walked inside and turned it face up again. She would have liked you, he said to Emiline. Would have thought you were brave, strong. Everything I need, even when I don't know I need it. Emiline looked at the photograph. Young woman, dark hair, kind eyes. She was beautiful. She was, inside and out. I'm not trying to take her place. I know, you're not taking anything. You're adding something. That's different. Emiline touched the frame gently. Thank you, Margaret, for loving him first, for teaching him what that looks like. I'll try to do right by him. Promise. Silas pulled her close. She'd approve. I know she would. They stood there together, past and present, meeting in the quiet of a ranch house in the middle of Texas, building a future neither of them had expected, but both of them needed more than breath. Outside, the wind picked up. Not a storm this time, just wind, carrying the smell of rain and earth and possibility. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new tests of what they were building. But tonight, they had each other, and for now, that was enough. The first person came 3 days after the church service. Old widow named Sarah Chen, Chinese woman who'd married a railroad worker 30 years back and stayed after he died. She knocked on the door at dawn, holding her side face gray with pain. Emiline opened the door, still in her nightgown. Mrs. Chen. Hurts, the old woman said in broken English. Here. Hurts bad. 3 days now. Emiline helped her inside, sat her at the table. Silas came out of his room half-dressed, saw them, and immediately put coffee on without being asked. Show me where, Emiline said. Mrs. Chen pressed her hand to her right side, low near her hip. Emiline placed her own hand over it, closed her eyes. Appendix, she said after a moment. Infected. Not ruptured yet, but close. Maybe 6 hours before it does. How can you possibly? Silas started. I can hear it, the swelling, the pressure, the way her body's trying to fight it. Emiline looked at Mrs. Chen. You need a doctor, real one, in Abilene. They can remove it before it bursts. No money for doctor, no money for Abilene. Then you'll die, probably by tonight. Mrs. Chen's face crumpled. I know, that's why I come, so someone knows, so someone can tell my son in California, so I don't die alone. Emiline looked at Silas. He saw the question in her eyes before she asked it. How much? He said. $50, maybe more. We don't have $50. I know. They stared at each other, having a whole conversation without words. The mare, Silas said finally. Dutch's mare. She's worth 60 easy. That's your horse. I've got others. You need her for? I need you to save this woman's life more than I need a horse. Go hitch the wagon. I'll get Mrs. Chen ready. Emiline kissed him, quick and fierce. I love you. Love you too. Now go. They made Abilene in 4 hours, pushing the horses hard, found the doctor's office on Main Street. Dr. Hendricks was a stern man with gray whiskers and hands that looked like they'd seen 1,000 surgeries. Appendicitis, he confirmed after examining Mrs. Chen. Acute. Needs immediate surgery. How much? Emiline asked. $40, plus 10 for recovery care, 50 total. We have 60. Silas pulled out the money he'd gotten from selling the mare to a rancher on the way into town. Take it. Keep her as long as she needs. Dr. Hendricks took the money, looked at them both. You're the girl from Grayson Creek, the one they call Buell, witch. Emiline finished. Yes. Was going to say healer. But I suppose some people can't tell the difference. He counted the money. I'll take good care of her. You have my word. Thank you. They left Mrs. Chen in his care and drove back to the ranch. Quiet. Both of them processing what they'd just done. $60, Silas said finally. That's what we had saved. For winter supplies. For emergencies. This was an emergency. I know, but now we've got nothing, and winter's coming. We'll figure it out. How? Same way we always do. Together. Silas smiled despite everything. You and that word. It's a good word. They got home to find two more people waiting on the porch. Young mother with a sick baby. Old man with a cough that rattled in his chest like dice in a cup. Emiline didn't hesitate. Come inside. That's how it started. Word spread fast. The girl who could hear sickness. Who knew what was wrong before doctors did. Who charged nothing and asked for nothing and turned no one away. Within a week, people were coming from 3 counties over. Some walked. Some rode. Some were carried on makeshift stretchers by family members who'd run out of options. Emiline treated them all. Used herbs she grew in the garden. Knowledge she'd learned from books and instinct. That impossible hearing that let her diagnose things no doctor could. She saved a child with pneumonia. An old man with a blocked bowel. A young woman hemorrhaging after childbirth. A rancher who'd been gored by a bull and was bleeding internally. People started leaving things. Not payment exactly, but gratitude. Bread. Eggs. A chicken. Firewood. A dress someone's daughter had outgrown. A pair of boots that were too small for someone's son. We can't accept this, Silas said, looking at the growing pile on the porch. Why not? Because we didn't ask for it. They're not paying me. They're saying thank you. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Payment is transaction. Thanks is relationship. I prefer the second. Silas shook his head but smiled. You're changing everything. You know that. Everything needed changing, but not everyone was happy about it. Marcus Petty came by on a Tuesday afternoon. Alone this time. No Bible. No mob. Just a tired man with questions in his eyes. Miss Ware. Mr. Carrian. Reverend. Emiline was grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle. Didn't stop when he arrived. May I speak with you? You're speaking now. Privately. Silas tensed, but Emiline touched his arm. It's fine. Reverend, say what you came to say. Marcus took off his hat, twisted it in his hands. The town's talking. About what you're doing here. The healing. Let them talk. Some are saying you're taking business from Dr. Morrison, that you're practicing medicine without training, that you're dangerous. Dr. Morrison won't treat people who can't pay. I will. If that's dangerous, so be it. I'm not here to stop you. I'm here to ask you to be careful. Morrison's got friends in Austin, friends who can make trouble. Why do you care? Marcus looked genuinely hurt. Because I was wrong about you, and I'm trying to make it right. Warning you seems like a start. Emiline set down the pestle, really looked at him. You mean that? I do. Then thank you, for the warning. I'll be careful. Will you? Marcus's eyes flicked to the line of people waiting outside. Because this doesn't look careful. This looks like you're daring someone to stop you. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm tired of being careful. Tired of making myself small so other people can feel big. Maybe I'm done with that. Noble. Also stupid. Probably both. Marcus almost smiled. You're a lot like your mother, you know. She was stubborn too. Emiline went very still. You knew my mother. Some. Before she married Jacob. She was kind. Saw good in everyone. Including him. That was her mistake. My father wasn't always. Yes, he was. He was always a drunk. Always angry. Always looking for someone to blame. Your mother just couldn't see it. Or didn't want to. Marcus put his hat back on. Point is, she would have been proud of you, what you're doing, who you've become, despite him. Tears pricked Emiline's eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just be careful. Please. He left. Silas came out from where he'd been listening. You trust him? I don't know, but I think he's trying. That's worth something. Or it's a trap. Everything's a trap if you're scared enough. I'm done being scared. I'm not. I'm terrified. Every time someone comes here, I wonder if they're really sick or if they're testing you, looking for proof you're dangerous. Every time you save someone, I wait for the moment they decide saving people isn't natural and you must be evil. Emiline took his hands. I know. I hear your heartbeat speed up every time someone knocks. I hear you checking your rifle every night before bed. I hear you lying awake watching my door making sure I'm safe. You hear all that. I hear everything, remember, including how much you love me, even when you're scared. Especially when I'm scared. She kissed him. I'll be careful, I promise. No, you won't, but I love you anyway. 2 weeks later, Dr. Morrison came to visit, brought Sheriff Brennan with him. Morrison was a thin man with pinched features and eyes that looked at the world like it owed him something. He climbed down from his buggy and stared at the people waiting on the porch with something between contempt and fury. Miss Ware, we need to talk. About what? About you practicing medicine without a license, without training, without authority. I'm not practicing medicine. I'm helping people. You're treating illness, prescribing remedies. That's medicine. I'm using herbs and common sense. That's gardening. Sheriff Brennan stepped forward. Miss Ware, I'm not here to arrest you, but Dr. Morrison has filed a formal complaint. Says you're endangering lives. Whose life have I endangered? Sarah Chen, Morrison said. You told her she needed surgery, sent her to Emiline, cost her every penny she had. Turns out it wasn't appendicitis at all, just indigestion. Emiline frowned. That's not true, I examined her myself. It was infected. She would have died without surgery. Dr. Hendricks in Emiline disagrees, says her appendix was perfectly healthy when he removed it. Says you misdiagnosed her, nearly killed her with unnecessary surgery. Cold fingers wrapped around Emiline's chest. He said what? Morrison pulled out a letter. Right here. Official statement. Says the appendix showed no signs of infection. Says the surgery was unnecessary. Says you're a fraud. Emiline took the letter. Read it. The words swam before her eyes. This is impossible. I heard it. The swelling. The infection. I heard. You heard nothing. Because you're not a doctor. You're a girl with delusions of grandeur playing with people's lives. Let me see that, Silas said, taking the letter. He read it. His face went hard. This is dated 3 days ago. So Mrs. Chen came here 2 weeks ago. Had surgery the same day. Recovered in 4 days. Came back last week to thank us. Brought us eggs and a chicken. Said she felt better than she had in years. Morrison's eye twitched. That's not... I've got witnesses. The rancher I sold my mare to, he was there. Saw the whole thing. Can confirm dates, confirm times, confirm Mrs. Chen walking out of that doctor's office alive and healthy. Doesn't change the medical facts. The medical facts are you're lying, or someone is, and I aim to find out which. Silas looked at Brennan. Sheriff, I want to file a complaint against Dr. Morrison for fraud, for filing false reports, for attempted defamation. Brennan looked uncomfortable. Silas, that's a serious accusation. He just accused Emiline of nearly killing a woman. That's serious enough for you. Morrison's face went red. How dare you? How dare you? Silas cut him off. Come to my property, lie about what happened, try to destroy a girl who saved more lives in a month than you've saved in a year. I'm a licensed physician. You're a licensed thief. You charge people who can't afford it, turn away people who need help, and now you're trying to stop someone who's doing what you won't. Why? Because she's making you look bad, because people are choosing her over you. Morrison's jaw worked. She's not qualified. She saved 15 lives this month. 15. How many did you save? Silence. Brennan cleared his throat. I think we should all calm down. I'm calm, Silas said. I'm also right. Morrison turned to Emiline. This isn't over. I'll go to Austin if I have to. Get the Territorial Medical Board involved. They'll shut you down. Might even arrest you. Let them try, Emiline said quietly. I'll keep helping people until they physically drag me away. And even then, I'll find a way. Morrison climbed back into his buggy. You'll regret this. Only thing I regret is not starting sooner. He drove away. Sheriff Brennan stayed behind, looking troubled. That was stupid, he said to Silas. Threatening him like that. He started it. And you made it worse. Morrison's got connections, real ones. He can make your life hell. He can try. Brennan turned to Emiline. Miss Ware, I like you. Think you're doing good work. But you need to understand something. The law's not on your side. Not really. Dr. Morrison's licensed. You're not. If he pushes this, I'll have to enforce whatever comes down from Austin. I won't like it. But I'll do it. I understand. Do you? Because you're looking at me like you don't care. I care. I just care more about the people who need help than I do about Morrison's ego. Brennan sighed. Your funeral. He mounted his horse. For what it's worth, I hope you win. He rode away, leaving them alone on the porch. The people waiting to see Emiline hadn't moved, hadn't left, just sat there watching, waiting to see what she'd do. She turned to face them. Anyone who wants to leave, now's your chance. I can't promise I won't get arrested. Can't promise this won't bring you trouble, but I can promise I'll help you if you stay. No one moved. A young woman holding a sick baby spoke up. My son's dying. Dr. Morrison says he can't help. Says I should take him to Abilene. I can't afford Abilene. You're all I got. Then come inside. One by one they followed her into the house. Silas stood on the porch alone, heart pounding, knowing they'd just declared war on a man who could destroy them. And knowing they'd do it again in a heartbeat. That night, after the last patient left, Emiline collapsed at the table. Exhausted, drained, but smiling. You should sleep, Silas said. Can't. Too wound up. You saved 6 people today. 7 if you count the Marston boy. I count him. So that's 7. In one day. How do you do it? I listen, I pay attention, I care. It's not complicated. It's extraordinary. It's necessary. There's a difference. Silas made tea. They drank it in silence. Morrison's going to come back, Silas said. With lawyers, maybe federal marshals. I know. We could leave, start over somewhere else, somewhere they don't know us. And let Morrison win. Let people die because we were too scared to fight. It's not about being scared. Yes, it is. It's exactly about that. You're scared I'll get arrested. I'm scared I'll stop helping people. Both fears are valid, but only one of them is bigger than the other. Which one? The second one. Always the second one. Silas reached across the table and took her hand. Then we fight. You sure? No, but I'm with you anyway. That word again. It's a good word. They sat together holding hands, building courage for whatever came next. 2 weeks passed, then 3. No word from Morrison. No marshals. No lawyers. The silence was worse than action. He's planning something, Silas said. I know. I can hear him in town, talking to people, building a case, gathering statements. From who? People I've treated. Asking them if I promised cures, if I charged money, if I'd claimed to be a doctor. What are they saying? Most are defending me, some aren't. Fear's a powerful thing. Makes people turn on each other to save themselves. We could still leave. No, we couldn't. On the 4th week, a letter arrived. Official seal, Territorial Medical Board of Texas. Silas's hands shook as he opened it. What's it say? Emiline asked. Says you're ordered to appear before the board in Austin, 2 weeks from today. to answer charges of practicing medicine without a license, endangering public health, fraud. All that from Morrison. All that from Morrison. Emiline took the letter. Read it carefully. If I don't go, they'll send marshals, arrest you, force you to go. And if I do go, they'll probably shut you down, might fine you, could even jail you if Morrison pushes hard enough. Emiline folded the letter. Then I guess I'm going to Austin. We're going to Austin. Silas. Don't argue. We're in this together. That word you love so much, it goes both ways. She smiled despite everything. All right. Together then. Together. They spent the next 2 weeks preparing, gathering testimonials from people Emiline had saved, letters from families, statements from witnesses. Marcus Petty wrote one, so did Mary Miller. So did the Henderson family and the Crawleys and 30 others. Sheriff Brennan wrote one too, though he warned them it might not help. The board's made up of doctors, he said. They protect their own. You're fighting an uphill battle. Only kind worth fighting, Emiline said. The night before they left for Austin, they sat on the porch one last time. Stars overhead, quiet all around. You scared? Silas asked. Terrified. Me too. What happens if we lose? We figure it out, same as always. And if they arrest me, then I'll break you out. Emiline laughed. Actually laughed. You break someone out of jail. For you, I'd burn the whole damn building down. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. They sat together, holding each other, knowing tomorrow might change everything. But tonight, they had this moment, this love, this impossible, beautiful, terrifying thing they'd built from nothing. And whatever happened in Austin, no one could take that away. Morning came too soon. They loaded the wagon, said goodbye to the ranch, started the long journey south. 3 days on the road, sleeping under stars, eating jerky and hard bread, talking about everything and nothing. On the 3rd day, they saw Austin in the distance, Capitol building rising above the city like a judgment waiting to be passed. Last chance to turn back, Silas said. Not turning back. Didn't think so, had to ask. They found a boarding house, cheap but clean, got a room with 2 beds. Neither of them mentioned that they only used one. The hearing was scheduled for 10 the next morning. Territorial Medical Board headquarters. Big stone building that smelled like old leather and older money. They arrived early. Found Dr. Morrison already there, surrounded by lawyers in expensive suits. He saw them and smiled. Cold. Victorious. Miss Ware, Mr. Carrian, so glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it? Emiline said. Neither would I. I've been looking forward to this. I'm sure you have. Morrison leaned closer. You could save everyone time. Admit you're a fraud. Promise to stop. Maybe the board goes easy on you. I'm not a fraud. Then you're a fool. Better a fool who saves lives than a doctor who lets them die. Morrison's smile disappeared. We'll see who the fool is when this is over. He walked away. Silas put a hand on Emiline's shoulder. You all right? No, but I will be. The doors opened. A clerk appeared. The board will see you now. They walked inside together, hand in hand, ready to fight for everything that mattered. The room was large. 5 men sat behind a long table. All of them doctors, all of them old. All of them looking at Emiline like she was something distasteful they'd found on their shoes. This was going to be a long day, but they'd faced worse, and they'd face this together. The chairman sat in the middle, silver-haired and granite-faced. Dr. Edmund Whitmore, according to the nameplate. He looked at Emiline the way someone might look at a stain on expensive fabric. Miss Ware, you stand accused of practicing medicine without license or training. How do you plead not guilty? Whitmore's eyebrow lifted. You deny treating patients. I deny practicing medicine. I help people. There's a difference. The law doesn't recognize that difference. Then the law's wrong. Murmurs rippled through the room. Dr. Morrison smiled. Whitmore leaned forward. Young lady, you're not helping your case. I'm not here to help my case. I'm here to tell the truth. If that's not enough, nothing will be. One of the other board members, younger than the rest with kind eyes, spoke up. Miss Ware, perhaps you could explain what you do, in your own words. I listen to people. I hear what's wrong with them. I use herbs and knowledge to help. I don't charge money. I don't claim to be a doctor. I just do what doctors won't. And what's that? Whitmore asked. Help people who can't pay. Morrison stood. If I may address the board, Miss Ware's methods are not only unqualified, they're dangerous. I have documentation of her misdiagnosing Sarah Chen, resulting in unnecessary surgery. That's a lie, Emiline said quietly. It's a medical fact signed by Dr. Hendricks in Emiline. Then Dr. Hendricks is lying too. Morrison's face went red. Are you accusing a licensed physician of fraud? I'm saying someone's lying. Either him or you. And I know it's not me because I was there. I heard Mrs. Chen's appendix swelling. Heard the infection spreading. Heard her body trying to fight it. And I heard it stop after the surgery because she was healed. Whitmore held up a hand. Miss Ware, you claim you heard these things. How? I have exceptional hearing. Always have. I can hear heartbeats, breathing patterns, internal swelling blockages. Things most people can't. That's medically impossible. So is a lot of what I do. Doesn't make it less real. The board members exchanged glances. One of them, an older man with spectacles, leaned forward. Miss Ware, the human ear cannot detect internal bodily functions. What you're describing violates basic anatomy. I know what I hear. Or you're delusional, Morrison interjected. Hearing voices, making diagnoses based on fantasy, putting lives at risk. Silas stood. If I may speak. You're not on trial, Mr. Carrian, Whitmore said. No, but I'm a witness. And I've seen her save 15 lives in 6 weeks. 15 people who came to her door dying, who walked away healed. That's not delusion, that's results. Results don't matter if the methods are unsound. They're the only thing that matters. You want to talk about unsound? Let's talk about Dr. Morrison. How many people has he turned away this year because they couldn't pay? How many died on their doorsteps while he sat in his office counting money? Morrison slammed his hand on the table. How dare you? How dare you? Silas shot back. Come here with forged documents and lies, trying to destroy a girl whose only crime is being better at healing than you are. Gentlemen, please, Whitmore said. This is a hearing, not a brawl. The kind-eyed doctor spoke again. Miss Ware, do you have anyone who can testify to your abilities? Someone beyond Mr. Carrian? I have 30 letters. From people I've treated. Families I've helped. They're all... Letters can be fabricated, Morrison interrupted. So can medical reports. Emiline said, staring directly at him. Before Morrison could respond, the door opened. Sheriff Brennan walked in, hat in hand, followed by a small woman in a plain dress. Apologies for the interruption, Brennan said, but we've got testimony that might matter. Whitmore frowned. This is highly irregular. So is railroading a 19-year-old girl on false charges. Mrs. Chen, if you would. Sarah Chen stepped forward, moving carefully but steadily. She looked at the board, then at Dr. Morrison. I am Sarah Chen. Miss Ware saved my life. Morrison stood quickly. Mrs. Chen, you were a victim of her incompetence. I was dying, Mrs. Chen said firmly, her English clearer than Silas had ever heard it. 3 days of pain. Dr. Morrison say nothing wrong. Say I too old, pain is normal. Send me home. I come to Miss Ware. She touched me one time, say appendix infected. Say I have hours. We go to Emiline. Dr. Hendricks do surgery. Find appendix ready to burst. 1 more hour I die. That's not what Dr. Hendricks reported, Morrison said. Because you pay him to lie, Mrs. Chen said simply. The room went silent. Morrison's face drained of color. That's slander. Is truth. Mrs. Chen pulled a folded paper from her pocket. This is real report, from Dr. Hendricks. Given to me after surgery. Say appendix severely infected. Say surgery saved my life. Say Miss Ware diagnosis correct. She handed it to Whitmore. Other report, the one Dr. Morrison show you that is lie. Whitmore took the paper. Read it. His face hardened. Dr. Morrison, you have 5 seconds to explain this before I hold you in contempt. Morrison opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The report must have been mixed up. The report was falsified. The kind-eyed doctor said, standing now. I'm Dr. James Hartley. I trained under Hendricks in Emiline. That's his signature on Mrs. Chen's report. I'd know it anywhere. The one Morrison presented is a forgery. This is absurd, Morrison tried. You're absurd, Hartley said. You came here with manufactured evidence to destroy a girl who's doing more good than you've done in a decade. Why professional jealousy? Fear that people might realize licensed doesn't mean competent. Whitmore stood. Dr. Morrison, you're dismissed from these proceedings. We'll be launching a full investigation into your conduct. If these allegations prove true, you'll lose your license. You can't. We can and we are. Get out. Morrison looked around the room, saw no allies, no sympathy, just disgust. He grabbed his papers and stormed out, his lawyers scrambling after him. The door slammed. Silence fell. Whitmore sat back down, looked at Emiline with new eyes. Miss Ware, it appears we owe you an apology. You owe me nothing. You owe Mrs. Chen an apology, and everyone else Morrison lied about. Fair enough. He looked at the other board members. They nodded. The charges against you are dismissed. With prejudice, meaning they can't be brought again. Emiline felt her knees go weak. Silas steadied her. However, Whitmore continued, that doesn't change the fact that you're practicing medicine without a license. I'm not practicing medicine. You are, by every legal definition. And while we're grateful for what you've done, the law is clear. You need proper training, proper oversight. I can't afford medical school. I know, which is why I'm making an offer. He leaned forward. Study under Dr. Hartley, formally. Learn proper procedures, proper documentation. In 3 years, you can sit for the medical board examination. Pass that, you'll be a licensed physician. First female one in Texas, most likely. Emiline stared. You're serious? Completely. Your abilities are extraordinary. Your results speak for themselves. But you need structure, training, both for your protection and your patients. What do you say? Emiline looked at Silas. He smiled, nodded. I say yes, but I have conditions. Whitmore blinked. Conditions. I keep helping people while I study. I don't stop just because I'm learning. And I don't charge money. Ever. Those are my terms. Those terms are acceptable. Then I accept. Hartley smiled. Welcome to medicine, Miss Ware, the real kind. They left the building in a daze. Mrs. Chen hugged Emiline on the steps. Thank you, Emiline whispered. You save me. I save you. Is fair. How did you know about the forged report? Dr. Hendricks give me copy. Say always keep copy. In case someone try to lie. He is good man. Say tell truth if anyone ask. She patted Emiline's cheek. You are good girl. World need more like you. She walked away, moving steadier than she had in years. Sheriff Brennan tipped his hat. Congratulations. Didn't think you'd win. Neither did we, Silas admitted. Morrison's finished. Board's investigating him for fraud, falsifying records, accepting bribes. He'll lose everything. Good, Emiline said. Maybe the next doctor will actually care about patients. Maybe you'll be that doctor. 3 years isn't so long. Feels long when people are dying now. Then keep doing what you're doing. Just do it legal now. He mounted his horse. I'll see you both back in Grayson Creek. He rode off. Silas and Emiline stood on the steps watching Austin move around them. We won, Emiline said like she couldn't quite believe it. You won. I just stood there looking angry. You stood with me. That's what mattered. 3 years of studying. That's going to be hard. Everything worth doing is hard. Doesn't mean we don't do it. There's that word again. What word? We. You keep saying we, like I'm studying too. Aren't you? You're going to help me, read to me, test me, keep me from giving up when it gets difficult. I don't know anything about medicine. You know me. That's enough. They walked back to the boarding house, packed their things, started the long ride home. 3 days on the road. Same stars, same jerky, different future. When they crested the hill and saw the ranch, both of them felt something settle into place. We're home, Emiline said. Yeah, we are. That night they sat on the porch like always, but everything felt different, lighter somehow. What do we do now? Emiline asked. Now we live, we work, you study, I help. We keep saving people. We keep building this. He gestured around them. Whatever this is. It's home. It's love. It's the life we chose. Good answer. 2 weeks later, Dr. Hartley arrived with books, instruments, detailed syllabi. He set up in the spare bedroom, turned it into a classroom. We'll start with anatomy, he said. If you can hear what's happening inside people, you need to understand what you're hearing. Emiline proved to be an exceptional student. What took most medical students years to learn, she absorbed in months. Her ability to hear internal processes gave her an advantage no textbook could match. She could hear blood flowing through arteries, hear air moving through lungs, hear joints grinding when cartilage wore thin. She learned to match what she heard with what the books taught, creating a bridge between instinct and science. Silas watched her transform. Saw confidence replace uncertainty, saw knowledge join intuition, saw her become something the world had never seen before. A healer with a gift and the training to use it properly. People kept coming. The line outside their door never shortened. Emiline treated them all, but now she documented everything. Kept records, did things by the book. Dr. Hartley watched with pride. You're going to change medicine, he told her one evening. Force people to see it differently, see patients differently. I just want to help people. That's why you'll succeed. The seasons turned. Summer became fall, became winter, became spring. The ranch changed too. They built an addition, a proper examination room with a table and instruments and shelves full of herbs and medicines. They planted more gardens, built a greenhouse, raised chickens and goats for eggs and milk. The town changed as well. Morrison was gone, license revoked, reputation destroyed. A new doctor came, younger, humbler, willing to work with Emiline instead of against her. People stopped calling her witch, started calling her healer, then doctor, then just Emiline. Marcus Petty performed the wedding on a Sunday afternoon in late spring. Small ceremony. Just close friends and the people whose lives she'd saved. Do you, Silas Carrian, take this woman to be your wife? I do. Do you, Emiline Ware, take this man to be your husband? I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. They kissed. Not for the first time, but differently. With promises behind it. With future ahead of it. That night they sat on the porch like always. But Emiline was Emiline Carrian now, Silas's wife, partner in every sense. Happy? He asked. Very. You? More than I thought possible, more than I deserve. You deserve everything. So do you. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Emiline spoke again. I'm pregnant. Silas went very still. What? I'm pregnant. 3 months. I've known for a while. Was waiting for the right time to tell you. And the wedding was the right time. After the wedding felt better. Now you can't back out. I wouldn't back out. I would never. His voice cracked. A baby. A baby, due in November. Silas pulled her close. She felt tears hit her hair. Margaret and I tried for years after Thomas. Never happened. I thought I couldn't. You can. We are. I'm going to be a father again. At 53. I'm going to be a mother at 20. We're both doing this wrong by conventional standards. Conventional standards can go to hell. That's my husband. They held each other as stars came out overhead. A baby, a future, a life they were building from the broken pieces of their pasts. 3 years passed like water. Emiline studied, took her examination, passed with the highest scores the board had ever seen. Became Dr. Silas Carrian officially. She was 22, the first licensed female physician in Texas, the youngest doctor in the state, and the most sought-after healer in 3 counties. Their daughter, Margaret Rose, was 2 years old. Dark hair like her mother, kind eyes like her father, a laugh that could light up a room. She had her mother's gift. Could hear things she shouldn't, knew when storms were coming, when people were sad, when love was growing. She's like you, Silas said, watching their daughter play. She's like both of us. Your kindness, my stubbornness. God help us. God help everyone. They built a clinic in town. Proper building with exam rooms and a waiting area, and Emiline's name on a sign out front. Dr. Silas Carrian. General practice. People came from everywhere, some to be healed, some just to see the deaf girl who could hear everything, the witch who became a doctor, the woman who changed medicine by refusing to let it stay the same. Silas ran the ranch, raised their daughter when Emiline was working, kept the home they'd built together running smooth. He was 55 now, gray in his beard, lines around his eyes, but happier than he'd ever been. Sometimes he'd look at Margaret's photograph on the mantel and smile. You were right, he'd tell her, about finding someone who needs saving, about not dying with you, about living. Thank you for giving me permission. The photograph never answered, but sometimes in the quiet, Silas felt like she heard him anyway. 5 years became 10. Margaret Rose grew tall and bright, started helping in the clinic, learning from her mother the way Emiline had learned from Dr. Hartley. Silas grew older, but not old. Still worked the ranch. Still loved his wife with an intensity that surprised him daily. Emiline turned 30, then 35. Trained other women, helped them become doctors too. Changed medicine one stubborn step at a time. The town that once wanted her dead now called her their greatest treasure. The preacher who led a mob now sent people to her door with blessings. And the lonely rancher who bought a deaf girl in a livestock market looked at his life and felt nothing but gratitude. They were sitting on the porch on their 20th anniversary when Emiline spoke. Tell me again how we started. You know how we started? I want to hear you say it. Silas smiled, took her hand. I went to buy a horse, found you instead, tied to your father's wrist. They were laughing. You weren't crying. You looked at me and I saw everything I'd lost and everything I could find again. So I paid $40 and brought you home. Best $40 you ever spent. Best decision I ever made. And now we have this life, this home, this family, this impossible, beautiful thing we built from nothing. From less than nothing, from broken pieces and borrowed hope. And love. Don't forget the love. Never. The love's the whole point. They sat together watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. Behind them in the house, their daughter was reading. Their clinic was full of patients waiting for morning. Their ranch was running smooth. 20 years since a drunk man sold his daughter in a livestock market. 20 years since a lonely rancher paid $40 and changed 2 lives forever. 20 years of proving that sometimes the best things come from the worst circumstances. That love doesn't care about age or propriety or what people think. That two broken people can make something whole if they're willing to try. Margaret Rose came outside 14 now, and beautiful. "Mama, Papa, dinner's ready." "Be right there, sweetheart." The girl went back inside. Emiline and Silas stood joints protesting slightly, hearts full to bursting. "You know what I hear?" Emiline asked. "What?" "Everything. Your heartbeat. Our daughter's laughter. The wind in the trees. The town settling in for the night. People healing. People hoping. People living." She squeezed his hand. "And under all of it, I hear us. Still together. Still choosing each other. Still building this life one day at a time." And what does that sound like? Like home. Like love. Like everything I never knew I needed until I found it. They walked inside together, hand in hand, leaving the porch empty, but never really leaving at all. Because this place, this ranch, this life they'd built, it was them now. Written into the wood and the land and the air itself. The story of a lonely rancher and a deaf girl who heard everything. Who found each other when the world said they shouldn't. Who loved each other when the world said they couldn't. Who proved that sometimes the best families are the ones we choose. The best homes are the ones we build, and the best love is the one that saves us from ourselves. And in the end, that's all anyone really needs.